End of the term. Term paper. I'd put in a lot of work. Made sure it was really good. Nothing was going to keep me from a good grade this time. Did I say nothing? Psychology. 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 That's what I meant, but who would have guessed it from the way I'd spelled it? Might as well face it. Spelling was always giving me trouble. In class. Writing letters. Even when I applied for a part-time job, my spelling made me feel foolish. And maybe it was the reason I didn't get the job. Now my term paper was going to be a flop because of spelling. Well, that did it. I was going to have that paper right, even if it meant looking up every word. P-S-Y-C-H-O-L-O-G-Y. P-S-Y-C. P-S-Y-C. See what? I figured I'd better look at that word long enough to be able to write it. Psychology. Psychol-O-G. Psychol-O-G. Psychology. Now, could I remember it? I closed my eyes, and a little at a time, I could see it. Psychology. I got a picture of it in my mind. Was it right? It checked. Psychol-O-G. Psychology. Just the way I saw it in my mind. Now if I could remember that picture of the word long enough to write it. It seemed to flow right out of the pencil. You know, I sort of had the feel of it. I checked it again, and it was right. I knew how to spell it. It hadn't taken long, but how'd I do it? First, I looked at the word and pronounced it. Psychology. Then I tried to imagine the word, get a picture of it in my mind. Then I checked it to see if the picture was right. Then I wrote it a few times and checked it again to make sure I really had it. Yes, that was it. It sounded like a system. I wrote down the steps. See and hear the word. Imagine the word. Check the word. Write the word. Check it again. There it was. It had worked for psychology, but would it work for other words? I wondered. Well, I didn't have long to wait. Is not so hard to believe. That sounded awkward. Wasn't there a better way to say it? Sure. Is not inconceivable. But how do you spell inconceivable? I tried the system. First, see and hear the word. Inconceivable. Inconceivable. It was sort of a complicated word, but I really concentrated on it. It didn't look so complicated when I saw other words in it. Almost all of conceive, except the final E, in, and able. And another thing, there was that tricky letter combination, C-E-I. Yes, by concentrating, I could see a lot in that word. See and hear the word. That was the first step. But what was the next? Imagine the word. Well, I found that it helped me to imagine the word by writing it out with my finger and saying it to myself. And when I closed my eyes, I got a clear picture of it in my mind. Well, all except that tricky letter combination. Was that E-I or I-E? I checked. C-E-I-V. C-E-I-V. I tried again. And this time I got a clear picture of the whole word, every part. Inconceivable. Well, what came next? Check the word. I'd already done that. It helped me with that tricky letter combination. So I went on to the next step. Write the word. It was easy, just as if I'd known it all the time. I-N-C-O-N-C-E-I-V-A-B-L-E. And the next step. Check it again. In, con, sieve, bull. Inconceivable. Now all I had to do was use it. You know, that was my word now, along with psychology. And before that term paper was finished, I had quite a list. Takes a little more time to write a paper that way, but I knew it was a good paper, and the spelling was accurate. After I turned in my paper, the more I used my spelling system, the more I realized the good spellers were using it too. Jim, he always carries a pocket-sized dictionary to see words and check them. Mary, she carries a little notebook to practice writing words that bother her. Bill, you could just see him trying to picture words in his mind. Yes, good spellers had been using that system all along. It helps them with tricky ones like these. Does a curd have 2 R's or 1? Is it O-E-S or O-S? Is it Y-S or I-E-S? Is it Z or S? How about it? Well, when I got my paper back, I knew it was all worthwhile. But what about you? Why not try the system? See how easy it can be. Take this word, commendable. Really see it and hear it. Commendable. Can you see other words in it? Can you see any tricky letter combinations in it? Now, imagine the word. Try to picture it in your mind as you saw it. Did it look like this? Remember to check it. And remember to write it, too. That's the way to make it your own.